All right, so today we're going to go over inequalities and how to graph those. This is note 7. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you so you can see it a little better. And a few things to note. I'm going to show you a little bit different way to put these on a graph than probably you used to do. When you were younger, you probably have looked at open circles or closed circles, right? When we talk about these would be greater than or less than, and this would be less than or equal to or greater than equal to. So we're going to do something a little different. For these symbols, you're going to have this. These are actually going to be a parenthesis instead of this. And instead of the dots, closed circle, it's going to be a bracket. And I'll show you how that's going to work on the first one. So if we're going to go ahead and look at this and we're going to shade, this problem here says graph everything where numbers are x is bigger than 5. So since this is a greater than with no line under it, in the past it would have been an open circle, but now we're going to use parentheses and brackets, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to make a parenthesis at 5. All right, like that. And I'm going to shade everything going to the right of 5. Okay, because those are all the numbers that are greater than. So that's how you get that graph, is you're going to use, again, parenthesis, because there's no equal sign, and then shade in the direction it tells you to. Now, interval notation is a little tricky, but so for interval notation, remember you're going to read your graph from left to right. All right. So what that actually means is if I look here, if I start over here on the left and I keep going, I'm going to get to parentheses. So for my interval notation, I'm actually just going to go ahead and write a parenthesis because that's what it shows. I'm going to do a parenthesis. And then that happens to be at the number 5. Okay. And then when I do intervals, it's from somewhere to somewhere else. So I'm going to do a comma because now it's going from 5. And then when a graph goes all the way to the right side, that's positive infinity. Okay. So we're going to put infinity, and infinity always gets a parenthesis. All right. So there's that example. So let's move on to the next one. So we've got over here, we have x is less than -3. All right. So we're going to, or sorry, positive. So x is less than 3. So we're going to start at 3. Since we're going less than, again, there's no equal sign. So we're going to do a parenthesis, and we're going to start at 3. And since it's less than, we're going to have it going that way. And I'm going to shade everything to the left. All right. Now, again, with interval notation, like we noted up here, is you always go from left to right. So if I start on the left side of the graph, if this is positive infinity, that means this has to be negative infinity. So I'm going to start, and infinity and negative, positive and negative infinity always get a parenthesis because you can never equal infinity because it goes on forever, minus infinity, comma, and then it goes to 3, and there's a parenthesis right there. All right, so you're going to stick with that and pay attention to that. Okay, so those are those two. Now, we're moving on, and this problem's a little different. It has the equal sign now. And if you remember up top, I told you that if you have an equal symbol, then you're going to have a bracket. All right, so for this, I'm going to start off at 2, right? And this is telling me that, hey, you have, you start at 2, which is over here, and you're going bigger than that. So I'm going to start there. Oop, I made a mistake. Look at that. I put a parenthesis, but it's supposed to be, since it's an equal, it needs to be a bracket like that. And I always look at it, to me, this and this kind of look like an equal sign. So if I see a line here, I know that my symbol on the graph has to have a line too. And then I'm going to go to the right because that's where positive, or those are the numbers bigger than 2 or equal to 2. So my interval notation, again, I read the graph. I go from left over here to the right. So if I do that, I'm going to have a bracket because that's where I start right here, right? I got a bracket there. Oops, I didn't want to draw over that. I have a bracket right here, okay? And then my first number is 2, and then it goes, and if I look over here to the right of that graph, if it goes on forever, is positive infinity. So I'm going to do infinity, and infinity always gets parentheses because you can never equal infinity. It's impossible. You'll never make it there. All right, so last problem. And then what you'll do after this last problem is this is the assignment for today for you since you're asynchronous. And what you're going to do is you're going to come into class tomorrow and you're going to work on the My Math Lab assignment that goes with it. All right, so last one. Here we go. X is less than or equal to -1. So when I see the equal to sign, I know I need a bracket. And it's less than, so it's going towards the left because those are the numbers that are to the left, right? And I'm going to undo that because I didn't quite put it on the -1. All right, and then I go to the left, so negative this way, right? So now again, when I do my interval notation, which means it's kind of like, where does this go from where to where? I'm going to do an open parentheses minus negative infinity because that's what's over here, comma, -1, and then I end with a bracket because there's a bracket on my graph. I'm just matching my graph and putting down where the answers for my question lie. All right, so those are the notes for today, and we'll go over those in class and do the problem in class tomorrow.